let's be real, you probably suck at using ChatGPT. Most people use ChatGPT and GPT-5 or whatever model you want, like a calculator. One-off prompts, random outputs, and different random moments and questions, and then they wonder why the results are inconsistent, are not accurate, or don't align to the way that you think or you act, or even completely relevant to the thing that you actually wanted to get insight into. If you're serious about getting the most out of something like AI, you need to use something called projects. Now, you've probably seen it there on the dashboard, but you're probably not using it. So, how do you do that? Quite simply, we got to go through the process of creating a project correctly. And let me show you how to do it. First, actually, let me mention the purpose of projects. Projects are not just a place for you to be consistent with, right? Technically, you could use it for that. It'll be a little bit better. What you want to use a project for is to help you get hyper focused and give it a ton of initial context and clarity. Every single time you want to talk about something about your business or ideas or your therapeutic issues or a relationship or a fitness program or content curation or whatever, if you create a project for it and then you go to that project because it's been optimized just for that topic or that category or how it needs to help you, you're going to get much better output simply because you've taken a few steps to give it resources and context and information. And what's great about that is that when you do this and you create a project, it's going to take that information, store it, and look, it's even got some basic ones, right? And be able to reference all of the materials you've given it in the past. So for us, we don't really need any of this. Let's just say my business. We're going to create a project. So once you've created a project, now you need to come in and you want to have a base project prompt, and that's going to be done under instructions. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to have a doc here that you guys will be able to get access to in the link down below. Honestly, what you do is you just go to the link down below. It'll be either, I'll probably have it in the school community or I'll maybe just have a direct link to it. I need to manage how people are accessing it just so things are a little bit better and smoother because I'm going to be giving you a bunch of stuff. Copy and paste and use these as a good starting point. Okay. So we have the instructions. Instructions are similar to how we've discussed in other videos of you need to give it context and clarity of what it's trying to do, how it's going to help you, what's the outcome, etc. Like what is it referencing? What's its reasoning for even doing anything, right? And so I'm going to give you the initial instruction format that I've been using for a little bit. We want to start simple and we can always layer onto things more, right? So here's my business. I like it like this. My business, help me plan, create, optimize everything related to this project. Here it is. Here's our project name. Here's our goal. Here's our target audience. Here's our voice and tone, competitors, tools, so on and so forth. This is super general, but the more you give it context about what you do, how you do it, the tools and resources that you're using and how you're utilizing them, the better it's going to be because it's going to have all of that information stored. Now, every time you go to re-talk with ChatGPT and you go to a different chat, you'll know that it tries to reference things from previous conversations that you've had. While that is good, it can actually hurt you. But by going into a project, you're able to help to narrow in its focus rather than just grabbing it from all over the place. And so that's why you want to go through and use this instructions area to give it a lot of extra context and cards. So we've saved this. Now what we also want to do is add in files, and that can be images, maybe your logo or a picture of you, or you want to upload PDFs. Maybe you've got documents that you want to share, right? Maybe you've got lists of data or some code or logos and icons. So what we're going to do is choose rehab questionnaire. Right. So doing this, being able to add in this information, it's now going to have more context and clarity and being able to reference these files and the resources, which is awesome. So every single time you now go into this chat and you go to talk to it, it's going to be able to reference the instructions and all of the files. So anytime you want to mention something, it's going to be able to do it way more catered than it could have prior. Technically do a really terrible version of this, like what I'm just doing. But we delete this file, we go and add a file, we just download the website. This isn't great, but I'm trying to do a quick and dirty example. But you could go through, download a series of files, and it gets a lot of extra context and clarity, so on and so forth. Okay, So once you've done the project, now we can start looking at how to do some of the cool goodies here. If I want to be able to use it to help with LinkedIn content, for example, what I would want to do is I would want to take an example LinkedIn post. I'd want to go onto my LinkedIn. I'd want to go to my LinkedIn account, and then I'd want to be able to capture my LinkedIn content itself, how I'm communicating, how I'm saying things, the entire piece. Now, of course, you could do the right way. We also have the super lazy way, and this is about 80% efficient. So know that there is going to be a bit of an error when you're doing it this way. But if you are just trying to be quick and dirty and want to see what you can even get using an up-to-date method, this is a quick and easy way of doing it. So here we go. We've got an example upload of my LinkedIn profile. And so we've got some information about our business. We've got some information about how I communicate on LinkedIn. And now I can go through and start using this in action for this case. So let's go and say, we're going to take this piece here, but I want to adjust it. Here's our chat. So once you've actually got all of this, we can just come into the chat and just dive into the thing that we want to focus on. So for this initial example, let's say using our brand gear sales agent project context, write me 3 LinkedIn posts focused on automating, on AI, boom. And so it now is going to do way more because it's not just going to sit here and go, oh, well, here's how I would talk. It's going to, look at this. It's immediately following this type of structure. How I had done this in the past. It's got a bunch of different pieces. It's breaking out the structure and the layout. And here, well, look, it immediately does this. And I just did this. Same thing, took it out of, look at this. Look, I mean, it's giving me information, but it's not going to be in the same level that I communicate normally, right? And so how do we do that? Well, we come into here and you look at this underneath the business project, you actually get each and every one of the different chats that you have, and then you can re-reference them or jump back into them in the future. But here we go. Look at this. We've immediately already been able to generate different posts, and then we could also draft different hooks, etc. that we want to do. But let's do another one. Let's do another example of follow up with a client. Hey, use this, draft a follow-up chat with a person, end with my name, Cole. Boom. So you could go through and work through different examples and interests and topics that you'd like to dive into. But we've talked over the super high levels, right? So this is the stuff you guys probably already understand, that you can create a project. You can then use that project to reference materials and help you get a little bit more accurate with the things that you want to do. What I really, really love is, let's say you are having a series of calls with people and you want to be able to reference what occurred in those calls, and we want to be able to take that. Give it just a second here. And because something like Fireflies doesn't always do the best, but like, let's say, so let's come into this here. Now, let's just say you just got done with a call with a potential client. You want to get all of the good insights about that and how you can help them. Be like, hey, I just got done talking with this person. I need you to go through and help me do an audit. So one of the things we can do is, say we've just got done with a call with a potential client, and we want to go through and do some auditing on how they do their business or how we think we can help them. Well, what we want to actually do first is I'm actually going to go through and export a document that we can use to give it training data. And I'll show you here in just a sec. And I've got a doc here. And what this one does is it's basically a high level example of like a project and some challenges that we've got based on the call with that client. So we want to take what we've got, we want to use that as a reference point. So that way when we tell it, we want it to go through and do an audit and give us a format and structure. It's got something to run with. So what does that mean? So it's going to be able to come in, save you tons of time and energy because it's able to reference an existing proposal format and structure that you've used and put something together, help fill in those gaps and really streamline the amount of time it would take you to try to get to the other side of this if you didn't do it. So let's take this. Oh, I got to recopy all of this. Great. So we've gone in here, we've taken this call, we've copied it. Now we want to go and do the following. And I'm going to use Aqua Voice, by the way, favorite little voice tool. It's got super accurate audio. Hey, so I just got done doing a call with Xanadu, a event management company, and I would love it if you could review the call and also help do a proposal based on everything that we've got so far. Feel free to reference an example proposal that I've done in the past to help you get some information put together for us. It doesn't need to be super long and lengthy. I would love to have something that's quick and easy for me to share with them pretty quickly after this call, so I have something nice to follow up with that really proves that I was listening and understood what they were talking about. Great. Look at that. Technically, I would say I'd want you to sit here and revise this a little bit, but if you're good with it, we can run with it. So now we can just paste the transcription of that call and boom, look at this. It's got all of the context and clarity, and it's immediately building out what it believes is an option for the proposed solution based on this, and then putting in some initial ideas for pricing and how we could charge it, and the different costs for add-ons and so on and so forth. But look at the quality of this outline just from basing it off of the example reference that I gave it, as well as the transcription. And you can just keep doing this for different calls as well. So I hope that this really helps, because I use this quite a bit. Hey, thank you for shooting this over. Based on all of this and the previous transcription that I had with that person, give me a series of follow-up questions and or how you would go through and close them in the follow-up call, where we overview the audit and or the general proposal and transition them into closing and getting to move forward as quickly and effectively as possible based on everything you know. Great. And so we can then now take all of this context and clarity about us and our business and who we're talking to, and then immediately get a good game plan for going in and selling our services. If you went to try to do all of this, you're going to do an okay job in a random chat, but it's just not going to be the same as if you do it in a project. So even better, hey, great. Can you now create a 2 to 3 email follow-up series we could use to send over to them, just to ensure that if for some reason we have to reschedule, we've got a cadence to keep touching base with them to really try to drive it home that we want to work with them and help them with their problems. Great. So now that it's going through and doing that, we're going to be able to have a solid outline and structure that, again, it's going to match my style of communication. It'll be good for us to get ourselves started. It's highlighting the call, it's highlighting the transcription, it's highlighting the proposal, it's referencing who we are, what we do, how we do it, and why. So look, I could sit here and go endless, and honestly, there's some really cool things you could like do connections and make, so that way every time it does stuff, it calls your project, which references all of these tools, and then outputs some really cool pieces on the other side. If you want something like that, I can show you in another call. However, I think this is more than enough to get you started. So what I'm going to do is, if you can, take a look at the stuff underneath of the video, and you're going to get access to all of this here, just so you've got a good starting point to help you get yourself started and then start going a little crazy with your projects.